Three, two, one.
Hello.
Welcome to Background Noise. This is a podcast about literally anything and can be listened to while you are doing literally anything.
We're just two best friends who love to talk. My name is Kaysee.
My name is Eric. This is our first podcast, so we're going to be a little weird.
But we're weird anyway.
We both love background noise while doing homework,
Cleaning,
cooking,
showering,
and going to sleep.
just to name a handful.
So, if you'd like, listen for background noise or pay really close attention.
Do whatever feels comfortable for you. This episode is going to be recorded in the car.
You might hear yelling, road noise, swearing at other cars, and other car noises.
In this episode, we're going to be talking about negative driving experiences and road rage.
Everyone experiences road rage, and if you don't, you are the problem, not us.
You're in for a ride.
All right, let's get going. Who wants to go first? You? You go first.
Negative?
Yeah, for a negative.
Okay, I have a really good one, and you're driving the car.
Okay.
But it was not our fault. Okay? And you remember this one. I know you do. So we were driving back home from the haunted house.
Yep.
And
It was far.
yes, it was. Not worth it, by the way.
No.
It was horrible.
That's a whole nother story, which we could get into if we wanted, but
We were on our way home, and the way that the road is, we have to like merge on to a bigger road.
like a
And-
highway.
Yeah.
It wasn't a freeway, but it was a highway.
Yeah, it was a highway. And we had to merge onto the bigger highway. And there was a car next to us because it was like two lanes, and one of them went off the exit and the other one merged onto the bigger highway.
Mhm.
And there's a giant white truck right next to us in the lane to go out on the exit. And they hurry and sped up right next to us, and we were going to get in that other lane.
Yeah. So they're in the right lane, the furthest right lane, and we're in the lane right next to them.
Yeah.
There's only 3 lanes right there because
Yeah.
that other one was about to go off the exit, which we were also about to do.
Yeah. We needed to get off the exit.
Mhm.
And we don't drive this road often, so we were,
Ever? I've never been on that road.
yeah, exactly. And so we were confused. I don't know about the truck, if they were confused, but this truck sped around us, and there was barely any time to go around and get onto the highway, which he should not have done. He should have slowed down and went the other way. And we had our blinker on, and we were getting over.
Yeah, definitely had the blinker on, and also like he was coming into me, so we're literally side by side, parallel with each other, and he decided to just, I'm coming over into
Yeah.
you.
And we were there, and we were in a car, which is littler than a truck, but he
Mhm.
still should have looked over, because
He-
we were right next to him.
There's no way you couldn't see us. It wasn't like a lifted truck, because a lot of trucks where we live are very lifted trucks.
Yeah.
Very annoying. That's a whole nother thing. But that was just a normal size truck. It was the normal height of a truck, and he totally
Just didn't look
No,
over.
and
You
his-
have to check.
you have to for sure check, and his lane didn't end anytime soon. So,
Well, it was ending, remember? Because,
it was, but
It
it
was
was
going
ending
to.
for the exit.
yeah, it was ending
That's
for the
when it
exit,
ended.
and he should have got off on the exit. He should
Yes.
not have hurried and tried to speed up right next to us and get over, because we were trying to get over to the other lane, and he was trying to get in our lane, and he was not checking, and we almost, like, smacked each other.
Yeah.
Because of that guy. He
Yeah.
should have waited to get around us. He shouldn't have done what he did.
He really should not.
And that was terrifying.
That
and
was.
we both laughed after to
Not cry.
to not cry, because it was so scary.
And we didn't do anything. Unfortunately, I swerved because I noticed he was coming over.
yeah.
because when I turned my blinker on, he was in my blind spot, so I didn't see him. I turned my blinker on, starting to go over. Not starting to go over. I turned my blinker on and then was checking, and he was right there coming into me, and that's when I was able to swerve a little bit into the other lane. Unfortunately, there wasn't a car there, because if there was, that would have been an accident, but it would have just ruined the car on that side, and honestly, we were going highway speed, which over there I think was what, 60 maybe.
Yeah.
It wasn't
not
as fast as the freeway, but it was still fast enough where it's definitely dangerous. I mean, 60 miles an hour, that's
Yeah.
gonna hurt.
And he was in a giant truck. We totally would have not lived.
Yeah, he was in one of like the heavy duty trucks.
Yeah.
So not just like a small little truck.
That's my horrible road experience.
One of the many.
Yeah, and it always happens when we're together.
Every time we're together, something bad is happening with driving. And, you know, you might be like, oh, well, maybe the common thing is us. It's not us.
It's
It
not.
really is not us.
It really
I'm
is
not a perfect driver. You're not a perfect driver. Nobody is. But it's never been
It's not
things
our
that are
fault.
something we can, like, gauge is going to happen. It's always, like, ridiculous things.
Like today, when we had two cars that cut right in front of us, and there was nobody behind us.
Yeah, and to the point where, you know, I had to slam on the brakes. It's on higher speed roads. It's just so not, you can't do that. Wait 2 seconds so I don't have to slam on my brakes to not hit you.
Exactly.
That is for sure one of my bigger pet peeves.
Especially if there's nobody behind us.
And even if there is, okay, wait a few seconds.
I know, it doesn't, like, just wait.
It's not going to hurt you. And I feel like all these people are people who've been driving for so long. Who
they're all old people.
Yeah, who I all know better, but they just don't care.
Because they're old.
And they're not going to get their license taken away. Whereas if we did that, we'd get our license taken away.
And that's stupid.
I know.
What's yours?
Oh, I'm trying to think which one
to say.
Yeah.
Well, should we explain the title of this episode?
Yeah, you explain that, and then I'll say one.
Okay. So the title of this episode is called People These Driving Days.
Mm-hmm.
And that is not correct grammar. We know that.
No, yeah.
We know that.
We're educated.
But when we were younger, how old were we? It was like, what, 3 years ago?
16, not even 17 quite yet. It was almost 4 years ago, actually.
Wow, that's
so
crazy.
Yeah.
Anyway, we were driving, and people were driving crazy, like they always do, and it's never us. It really is never us. And I had said, people these driving days, and we just kept it going since.
Literally
since
2019. Early 2019. It's been a long time, and it's a lot of our phrases are honestly not grammar.
Yeah,
There's no grammar involved. It's just
English. Bad English.
Bad English. It sounds like we've never spoken English in our lives. We have. It's just
we're not good at it.
We sure aren't. Which
we're
is
not
sad.
good at that, and I'm totally going into that.
I know, that's your degree, and you're struggling.
That's funny.
Oh, that's super funny.
All right, your turn.
Okay. I think I'll share this one first. One of the stories that I believe the same day you said people these driving days was there was a car in front of us.
Oh.
And we were at a stoplight, and the car in front of us had its license plate had expired, or its registration had expired in 2016. I realized this was back in 2019, which means it had expired 3 years prior, which means they hadn't purchased the registration since 2015, because, you know, you get it the year before.
Yeah.
Like, when you register your car in 2015, it's good until 2016.
That's a long time to go without. How did they not get pulled over?
3 years. I don't know, but it was an elderly man, remember?
So maybe that's why.
But, like, I feel like if I got pulled over for doing that and it had been 2 months, I would get a ticket. I mean, I'm sure if he got pulled over, he would have gotten a ticket. I know it.
Probably.
That's too long.
That's a long time.
It's not a month. A month, I know they'll pull you over and they might say, hey, by the way, your registration's expired. You do need to get that figured out.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if they can just pull you over just because of that. I'm not really sure how any of that works. I've not been pulled over, fortunately, and I need to knock on wood because I do not want to be.
I've been pulled over twice.
I know. You should tell those stories, too.
Both the times I got pulled over was because the lights were out.
Oh.
And I was driving my mom and dad's truck, and the headlight was out. And it was this day, and I was going to go take the SAT. And so I was so nervous. I was so scared because I was nervous about the test, and I'm a horrible test taker anyway. I get really bad test anxiety. I was scared because of that, and the headlight was out, and the cop looked at me, and he's like, "Oh, that's someone young," and pulled me over. I could tell he was debating whether or not to pull me over, and he did because
You're young. You look young. Yeah.
And so he pulled me over, and I started crying because I'm so scared.
I didn't know you started crying.
Yeah, I was sobbing.
Oh my gosh.
Because I was terrified, and I'd never been pulled over before, and so I didn't really know what to do.
I just thought of a good story that reminded me of that. I guess I sort of have been pulled over before.
Really?
Yeah, but you finish yours and I'll explain mine.
Okay. So then he's like, "Can I have your license and registration?" I was like, "Yeah, but I don't know where the registration is," because it was my mom and dad's truck. And it wasn't in the glove box like it usually is, so I didn't know where it was.
Right.
And so I gave him my license. He's like, "Well, is this your car?" And I was like, "No, it's my mom's." And he's like, "Okay." And he took the license back. And then he came back and he's like, "Just make sure you get it fixed. Or tell your mom that
was it the headlight or?
It was the headlight.
And was it dark?
It was morning.
Okay,
so it was dim, but it wasn't dark, really. What is that?
It's my dash cam.
Oh.
I don't know what it's doing.
Then the other time I got pulled over is because the taillight was out. And the cop was like, this time I didn't cry.
Oh, that's good.
And I gave him my license and registration. He's like, "Well, your taillight's out." And I was like, "Yeah, I need to get it fixed." I didn't know. So I was like, "Oh, thanks for telling me I have to get that fixed." And he's like, "Did I pull you over yesterday?" And I was like, "No, you did not."
Plus 1 day?
Yeah, for real.
Well, I mean,
sometimes you can't get it fixed in 1 day.
No, even then, but even if you could go get it that day, what's saying you have time to put it in that day, or you even know how?
Yeah,
because every car is different on how to do it. I mean, some of them are really complicated to change lights. So, yeah.
I never got it fixed. I don't think.
Did you really not?
Or maybe I told my dad and he fixed it.
He fixed it. What car was that?
That was my stick shift.
Oh, well, yeah, it had 500,000 miles. Of course the light was dead. It probably had 30 lights in there.
Oh my gosh, that was my first car. It was a Saturn, and it was a stick shift, a manual. And it had 500,000 miles on it. I bet you can't find a car that has
500,000 miles?
Yeah, did I say million?
No, you didn't say million. You did not. You said 1,000. But even if you could, a Saturn of all of them, that doesn't happen.
Isn't that crazy?
That is.
Anyway, you can tell your story.
Okay, so when she was saying her pullover story, I realized one time I've sort of been pulled over. I kind of forgot about it because I tried to block this memory out of my brain because it was not a fun time for me. But I was with one of my other best friends, and I don't know what time it was. It was like maybe 10 o'clock at night. And I am a big car fan, as you know. And we decided to go to a Kia dealership and see if they had a Kia Carnival, this is when the Kia Carnival just came out, and I love Kia Carnivals. It was my favorite car for a long time. And I really wanted to see if they had one because I love them. So we went and checked, and 2021 is when this was. Everything was hard to find then, even is still now, but cars were super hard to find back then. So we were gonna get out, and their lot is massive, and so we parked the car, and they're closed, but there's tons of lights, we're just looking outside. We parked the car because they block the entrance into where all the cars are, so they have the parking lot open, but where all the new cars are parked is blocked off with just one little car, just so you can't drive through.
Yeah.
But so we parked the car and got out and started walking, and realized, oh, these are all used cars. None of them are new. I didn't really necessarily notice that from the road because I'm not necessarily looking at that. I'm just saying, oh, they have a ton of cars. Let's stop and look. So they were all used. I mean, I think they maybe had 5 new cars, and definitely not the one I wanted to look at. And so we got right back into the car. We were out of the car for maybe 30 seconds, if that, honestly. We get back in, I turn the car on, and I shift into reverse, and I start backing out. And I look in my rearview mirror, and there's like a police behind me, and he didn't have like sirens. I don't even think he had any lights on, but it was a car, and I could tell it was a police because it's a Dodge Charger that's white, and I can see the police lights on the top, and I know that's you see a white Dodge Charger, you're pretty sure it's going to be a police.
Yeah.
And it was, and so I was like, oh my gosh, what is happening? And so I just I go back into park. I just stayed where I'm at. I'm like halfway out of the parking spot, and I didn't really want to move forward. I kind of just stayed where I was because I didn't know what to do. And he comes up to the window, and he's like, hey, what's going on? I was looking to see if they had a car, and he was not very nice about anything. He was like, well, you do realize they are closed, right? And I was like, yeah, we were just walking to see if they had the car and realized, oh, they don't have it. And so we got right back into the car. And he was like, well, what car are you looking for? And I was like, well, we were looking for a Kia Carnival minivan. And I also wanted to see if they had a blue Kia Soul, because I also like those. And he was like, oh, okay. And then he asked for the registration for my car. He asked for both of our license, me and my friend. He looked at those, and I live really close to this friend. We live less than a mile away from each other. And he's like, oh, you guys live close to each other, huh? But he said it in a way that it was like something's wrong with that.
That's weird.
Like, whatever. And he was like, well, so what are you guys doing out so late? It's like 10 o'clock at night. It's not that late.
Not
the dealership
late.
closed like 1 hour ago. It's not like, it wasn't as late as he was making it sound. And I was like, well, we just went and ate dinner, and we're just on our way home, and I figured I'd stop and see if they had the car that I've always really liked. And whatever, and he went back to his car, and he wrote down our phone numbers and whatever, and then he came back, and he's like, well, what I should do is call the dealership and make them come here, and then they can choose what they want to do.
For what?
I don't know. I know we didn't do anything. And I was just like, yeah. I didn't say that. I don't even think I said anything. I think I was just like, okay.
Yeah, what do you say to that?
I don't know. And it was stupid, but then whatever, he left. Whatever, I don't know. It finished, and he left, and he's like, well, I'll just let you off with a warning. And it's like, well, yeah, you should let me off with a warning because I didn't do anything, so there's no warning really to be had. Don't worry, I did not say that. I'm not trying to get arrested for being sassy or whatever. But afterwards, that's what I was thinking and saying to my friend, and it was just so ridiculous. He gets back in his car, and they're kind of sitting there for a minute, and I look back and look around, and there's 7 police cars there. 7. So clearly they were just super bored and had nothing else better to do.
Yeah, why did he call for how did they know?
Oh, I didn't explain that. So he actually did say, he was like, well, I was sitting across the street and watching the dealership, and I saw you, so I came over here in case you were going to steal something.
Well, how did so many cops come?
They were all bored. He must have said on his radio, been like, hey, there's a car at the dealership. Let's all go over there at once. All 7 of us.
Oh my
gosh,
that's
2
so
teenagers,
annoying.
2 18-year-olds, maybe 19, I don't know, but okay. It was so dumb. But then my friend and I on the way home were talking about it, and we're just like, that's so ridiculous. Everything about it is so ridiculous.
Yeah.
You live next to each other? Yeah, is that illegal? What is the point of it? Wasn't said.
How you meet friends?
I know, but it wasn't said in a funny way. It was said in a oh, you live near each other.
What does that mean?
I don't know. But then he was saying whatever, I should call the dealership and they can do whatever they want, and then they have to wake up and come and figure it out. I'm like, wake up! It's 10 p.m.
Was
Most people are not asleep.
Guilt you?
Oh, for sure.
For, like, you guys didn't do anything, so why is he trying to guilt you guys?
I don't know, but even if he had called the dealership, you know what they would have said? What car are you interested in? Do you want to buy one? That's what they would have said.
Yeah,
because
they're just trying to sell stuff.
They're just trying to sell stuff. I have been to dealerships many times and with my dad. And you know what? I do think since I was 19 and with my 19-year-old friend, that we were treated differently than if I had been with my dad. I don't think it would have been the same. I think they would have been probably not as worried, and they would have probably been like, oh, just, okay. They probably would have left after pulling over and it's my dad.
Yeah.
You know? But
what happens if you just left? Like, you didn't see the police officer. Would he follow you?
They blocked the entrances.
Oh.
I couldn't have left. There was nowhere to go. But yeah,
that's a weird experience, I feel like.
it is. But I know I've actually had dealers tell me before, if you don't want to worry about being one of the dealers here, just come at night when we're closed. I've had dealers tell that to me. So I know it's okay. So I just don't understand. I mean, it was so frustrating. And I told my parents, they're like, that's really, really stupid.
That's the weirdest thing ever.
But so I guess I sort of have been pulled over, but not in like the way that you might be thinking.
You know, one of my biggest fears is getting pulled over at night and it not being a real police officer.
Yes.
That's so scary.
It's a really legitimate fear. I can understand why that's so scary to you.
Mhm. And then, you know what? Another thing that I do not like, so like police cars look the same as like civilian cars.
Yeah.
I hate that because you're driving and you're like, oh, that's a police car.
Oh, I know. And you don't, even if you're not doing, like, most of the time when I think that, I'm not speeding. I'm not doing anything wrong, but I'm still panicked.
Yes.
Because I just don't. What if I am doing something wrong?
Yeah.
What if my light's out?
Yeah.
What if I'm going 1 mile over, 1 mile under? Am I going to get pulled over? Like, you know, you just worry about all that. Especially being, I feel like, a younger driver. Because you get pulled over once, and you are really close to your whole license being taken away. Because when you're 16 to 19, I think 2 tickets, no license.
For real?
Yeah. That's how many,
crazy.
That's all it takes. It's suspended. It's not permanently gone. It's just you can't have it for like 6 months.
Wow.
So it's scary.
That is scary.
But yeah, if you're ever pulled over by an unmarked vehicle, or any vehicle, even if it's marked, call the police, call 911. It's totally acceptable to do that and say, hey, I got pulled over by blah, 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 whatever license plate number, and they're say, that's not a known police officer, and even if it is, and they're not on duty, I don't know what the jurisdiction on that is, but
I think
like,
if they're not on duty, they can still pull you over.
I think they can. So, but
I totally don't know for real, so that could totally be wrong.
For sure, I don't know that either. But yeah, call 911, say this is it, and if there's something wrong, they'll say we'll send someone to come help, we'll send help, or please find the nearest police station, we'll guide you there. Where are you? Tell us where you are, we'll guide you to the nearest police station. If you're ever pulled over, you're allowed to do that, and please do. So,
especially at night, I feel like.
Especially at night, and especially if you're a woman, because it's just scarier. I mean, if you're alone, I mean, of all things, like, yeah, you just definitely don't want to
especially
risk
in this world, too.
I know, it's a scary world.
Okay.
There was another one in another thing.
If you're not in the car, does it count as an accident?
No, because I didn't report it. Okay, sorry. The person behind me was kind of scaring me.
Yeah, they were weird.
Way too close to me, and there was not a lane next to me to turn right, but they still, like, forced their way in.
And it was not a huge road to do that.
No, it's like a neighborhood road. Anyways, okay. Drove my dad's car to school that day, and I went to lunch with one of my friends, and the car was freshly washed, and I had commented that the car looked really nice today, and it was a really good color, and it just looks really good today, and good condition. It's a 2005, and it looks really nice. At least it did then, when it wasn't damaged, as you'll find out later. But, so I commented that at lunch. We went to get lunch, went back to school. End of school happens. I'm waiting for a friend. We didn't end up meeting up, and so I went back to my car. School had ended maybe 20 minutes ago, and So there's not really any cars left in the parking lot at that point. I mean, everyone's already gone home. Once school ends, everyone wants to go home. That's what you want to do in high school. I got in the car, I went home, and then I get home and get out, and I'm parked in the garage, and I look at the front bumper. I'm walking, and I look, and the front bumper is not in place. It's knocked out of place. Yeah, so the bumper's knocked out of place. The paint is scratched up, and there's actually like a hole in the bumper, and the piece is like pulled out. Like it scraped the metal parts out completely. Which, by the way,
and they just left.
They just left. Whoever hit me just left. I literally was like, oh my gosh. So I told my mom. I told my dad. I called the school. I told them. They're like, come and talk to the sheriff. So I drove back, talked to the sheriff, showed him where I parked. I was parked right next, a couple spots away from a light post. So, not.
Man, this person sucked at driving.
Yeah. And I actually remembered the car that was behind me, because I remember things like that. I like look at the cars around me. I remember I'm a car guy, so I know what cars look like. And it was a old white truck. And I was like, I told the sheriff that. And he was like, okay, I'll keep that in mind. I'll look for it. I'll look on the cameras. So I was like, okay, thank you. I went home, whatever. Next day. So, anyways, actually, next day, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to look for this specific car, because I'm looking for the specific car, and I find the truck, and you know what I find? So you know the gap in the truck between where the cab is and where the bed is? There's like a line where it's separated, because they're two separate pieces put together, basically. Yeah. There's red paint transfer, and there was white paint transfer on my car. Hello?
So figured it out.
It makes sense. I knew there was a white truck behind me, and this white truck had also had paint in where it made sense where he'd hit me, because if he had swerved around me and came and hit like this, it makes sense he'd hit me on the bed of his truck, between the bed and the cab.
Yeah.
I told the sheriff that. I got his license plate. He's like, I'll look into it. He never looked into it.
Oh my god.
He never looked at the cameras. He said he didn't see anything, which I know is such a lie. I know he totally saw it, but he just didn't care.
That's so annoying.
So annoying.
I'm so mad about that.
I know, it makes me so frustrated, and it like ruined. You're not supposed to come this way. This is one-way road.
Yeah.
Speaking of bad driving experiences, we're in a parking lot right now, and somebody's driving the opposite direction of the one-way road, and so we're seeing that right now.
Yeah, because we're literally in the drive-through line. Ew.
Okay, so we're in the drive-through line right now, and
we're
parked waiting. We're trying to decide what we want. So we're just right behind the drive-through line, and there's 2 cars in the drive-through, and a truck sitting like 3 car lengths behind doing nothing.
Right in
the middle opening. Of the road.
Right in the opening.
And they were going the wrong way too.
Yeah, they were.
What does everyone do that for?
I don't know, but it was like freaking me out.
It was freaky. So now we're just trying to decide what we want to eat.
So to do that one, you have to spend $5?
Yeah. But I mean, I'm thirsty.
Is that $5?
A drink is $1.
Oh, okay.
If you get a drink, that's
I'll
$1.
Get a drink.
So we're at $2.
Will you be using your rewards today? Your order taker will be right with you.
That was super weird.
Hello? I'm confused.
I'm confused, Sean.
She said, hello, can I be using your rewards app?
I just want...
We'll be with you in a minute. Like, okay.
Thank you for choosing McDonald's. What can I get started for you?
Hi, I have a code.
What's the code?
6381.
63, what was that?
81.
6381?
Yeah.
Alright, and what can I get started for you?
Can I get 4 cheeseburgers?
Alright.
And a large Diet Coke?
Alright.
Diet Coke.
And another large Diet Coke. So 2 large Diet Cokes in total.
Alright, anything else?
Nope, that's everything.
Alrighty, your total is going to be...
I thought you wanted fries.
762's first window.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. So this next story is when we were, I think I was a senior, and you were too, obviously, because we're in the same grade.
Right.
And, well, we're in college
Yeah, we're
now.
not in a grade now at all. We're old.
I was dating that one kid
Okay.
that we don't really like.
That we don't talk about. We don't talk about Bruno, but
Yeah,
same letter.
for real.
Wait, which? Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
Anyway, and I had dropped him off at a train station
Mhm. I don't think I know this story.
because that's where his car was.
Okay.
And it he came by train to where I live, and it was just like one stop away. So he just rode the train because he drove to the train station, went to the other train station that was a stop away. Does
Oh.
that make sense?
Yes, that does.
Okay. And
Why would you not just drive?
yeah, for real.
Because it's gonna cost you probably the same amount of money. But anyways, sorry.
Yeah, I don't know. But so I drove him back to where his car was. Like, I don't know why he couldn't have just got on the train.
That's weird.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we stopped there for a sec, and like we said our goodbyes, and he left in his car, and I got in my car, and I had got in, and I checked all my surroundings, and I started backing up, and this other car was super dark, and I didn't see it, and I like bumped into it.
Mhm.
And it wasn't a huge back up crash, it was just a bump. And so then I pulled back into my spot, and I was checking to see if there's like damage.
Yeah.
And there was no damage on my car, there was no damage on the other car. And then this car had no license plates or anything.
Oh.
So I didn't know, and I didn't have paper or pencil to write down my information.
Right.
So I was like, okay, I guess I'm just gonna go. We don't have damage.
There's no damage or.
Yeah, and I felt it too to make sure. You know what I mean?
Yeah, nothing had happened underneath.
And there was no damage whatsoever. And so I was like, okay, I feel really bad, but I guess since there's no damage, I'm just gonna go.
Mhm.
And there was no license plate number on it, and I didn't have anything to write mine down.
Right.
And then this car, who was also in the parking lot, had saw me do that. And I was gonna leave because my explanation that I just said.
Right.
And they started following me.
Did they really?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
They started following me. And so I circled back and went back to the car, and I'm like, and they were still trying to find me. And so then I hurried and left, and I called this kid I was dating, and I was like, I just backed up into a car, and there's these people that are trying to follow me. And he's like, he had me explain the car, and it was dark, and I'm pretty sure there was windows broken, the car.
Oh.
And there was no license plates on the car. And he's like, oh yeah, that's just an abandoned car. So it didn't really matter anyway.
Right, because
it was already had so much, the windows had damage.
Right. So if you broke their bumper.
Which I didn't.
Exactly, so.
And it was an abandoned car. So these people were trying to follow me for an abandoned car.
That's weird that they followed you.
I know, and it was scary because, imagine I'm a senior in high school, so 17. I'm freaking out because these people are trying to follow me, and it was this abandoned car anyway.
Oh my gosh, you're like, of all, I would have been, that would have been so scary.
Yeah, it was, and it was annoying, and that's my story.
I do remember that now that you say that. I didn't know where it was going at first because I was like, train station. I don't remember it being. I don't remember you saying it was at the train station, but
yeah,
that's crazy. Yeah,
I know. And it was so scary that these random people were trying to follow me because I had backed into them, and I did all that I could.
Yeah, and it's just weird to follow someone like that.
I know. What are you gonna do? If you're really concerned, call the police.
Yeah, and I mean, maybe they're trying to get your license plate and then calling the police. I don't know.
It was scary.
That is scary.
And I lost them.
That's good.
Because when I turned back to go back to the car, I had saw them and they also turned back, so I sped through the parking lot. Not I didn't speed.
Right. No, I got you.
I just went through the parking lot.
You went.
Yeah, and lost them, and I was out of there.
That's good, but that's scary.
I know.
I would not like that. I wouldn't know what to do,
horrible.
really. Because, I mean, at what point were they going to keep following? I mean, how long do you think they would have followed you if you hadn't lost them?
I don't know.
Because that's just, I don't know. I don't like that.
Just call the police.
Yeah, you never just take matters into your own hands. That's how you die. What if you decided, okay.
Another one!
Another person pulling in front of us when there's no one behind me.
And then braking.
And yeah. Wow. Okay. Well, I like that we are just always having these experiences, even while we're talking about it.
Why are people targeting us?
I don't know. I mean, it gives us good content, that's for sure.
I guess. What else is there?
What else? Oh, I have so many that I've probably just completely forgotten.
I know, me too.
I have one. I guess I said I had a couple of accidents that were fender benders. I still have another one that I'll share. What in the heck? Sorry, the road is stupid. Lines don't make any sense. Just 2 lanes just became 1 and there was no warning of it. Anyway, okay, so the other one was I was also in the school parking lot. School parking lots aren't good.
For real? Oh my gosh, you just gave me something to say.
Awesome. They're just not good. So I was in my car, and it was with my friend, and we were going to lunch. And where my high school is, there really is not anywhere nearby. Mm-hmm. It's literally in the middle of nowhere. They have many other places they should have put it, but they didn't. It's not nearby to anything except one gas station, which overcharges everything times 10 compared to all the other gas stations of its same type. Very rude, because we're literally broke high school students who want to eat lunch.
For real.
But they charged insane amounts for food, but we still were hungry, and we didn't want school lunch that day, so we went and got it anyways. So I'm backing. Actually, we didn't even end up getting lunch that day because of what happened, by the way. We didn't even get to eat lunch because
you just starved.
We just starved that day for us. We just starved that day, unfortunately, is what I meant to say. Anyways, so I'm backing out. I back out. All of a sudden, crash. I hear like the worst sound. You hear, if you've been in any sort of fender bender accident, you know that awful loud crashing sound? It's terrible. It's like the worst sound ever. And I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't see a car behind me. And I get out. I literally look what's happening. And behind me, and there's someone who backed out. And then they pulled right back into their spot. So I get out and look, and my bumper is destroyed. It was so bad. Like, the bumper cover was ruined. It was like the taillight was broken. There was pieces of the taillight on the ground. And I was like, oh my gosh. And so we go in and...
Sadness in a cup.
Sadness in a cup, for sure. 100%. We go in and tell the sheriff whatever. He comes out. He's like, okay. He's like, what happened? We explained it. And I was still in shock. I really didn't understand what was happening. I wasn't understanding, how did I not see them? I don't get it. And then later was thinking about it, and my friend and I were talking about it, who was in the car with me, and we realized the reason I didn't see it is because I was in drive. I wasn't backing up anymore. I was done backing up, which means I was all the way out of the parking spot completely. So it wasn't my fault. It was the other person's fault.
They should have looked.
She wasn't looking. Based off of when we went to the auto shop and got it quoted, the person said she was going about 10 miles per hour based off of the damage in a school parking lot, not looking. And it was just so, backing out. So she just ruined the bumper of my car, which I never fixed. I actually just got a blow dryer, and my dad and I popped it right back into place. It still has the lines and everything. It works, but I had to get a new taillight, but whatever. But, it was totally her fault, and I didn't realize until later. Like, I was in drive, I was all the way ready to go. We were literally, I had put it in drive and then was letting off the brake to go to the gas pedal. So that's when it happened. But that's so frustrating. I wish I had remembered that when I had said, but it didn't matter anyway, since it was in a parking lot. Since we were in the parking lot, they quoted it as both of our faults anyways.
Really?
Which is so stupid. That should not happen. Why? It's not my fault. But
That's annoying.
yeah, I guess it didn't end up being too bad, since I only had to replace the taillight, which was like $100 something. But still.
That's so annoying.
Yeah, that was very,
I should have took responsibility for the reaction.
I know. She was like, it's my birthday. Like, that's not an excuse to not look where you're backing up. And then, oh my gosh, I saw her car her car, the bumper was higher than my car. So that's why it completely ruined my bumper. It's because her bumper was like 2 inches higher. So where her bumper is the strongest, hit my bumper where it's the weakest.
Oh.
So, fortunately, the actual bumper underneath was not damaged, at least on my car. Not on her car either. Her taillight broke, but a year and a half later, I saw her, and her taillight was still broken. And it did not have red tape on it or anything. It was still just like the white bulb inside. It was so,
That's
like, she was braking, and it was white.
That's
She
illegal.
never fixed it. It is illegal, and what? The red tape is cheap, but, like, I get it.
Fix it. It's a year later.
Yeah, but her car is old, so she didn't care. Her car paint was all scratched up because it was just old. It was an old car. It was like a 2000.
Take pride in what you have.
I know. Well, for sure, I wouldn't just leave my car. I mean, for sure, I would at least put tape over it because that's the law.
Gosh.
But she totally did it, and I was like, oh.
That sounds frustrating.
Because it was claimed as both of our faults when it totally wasn't. But that was my other fender bender experience. One was not in the car, and one was in the car. But it was a long time ago now.
Yeah.
In high school, because, you know, they all are.
For real. Well, I've almost gotten in so many crashes. I
know.
work at a school, okay? And I'll be out. I'll be backing out of my stall, halfway out, and there's nobody there as I'm doing it. And then all of a sudden they speed up, like they're speeding in the school parking lot.
Oh my gosh.
Which is ridiculous in the first place.
Yeah, for sure. And you work in an elementary school. It's all of them.
I know. And I'll be halfway out, and they'll speed, and I'll have to slam on my brakes because they're not going to stop because they're not slowing down at all.
Oh my gosh.
And that's happened to me like 3 times. And they've seen me.
It's so shocking.
And then the amount of times I've almost gotten ran over in the crosswalk is ridiculous.
Oh my gosh.
Going into the school, it's like 3 different times.
I just like, what are people thinking, or what?
They're watching their kids make it into the building, and they're going off.
Okay, but you can just wait.
Watch
not,
the road.
Yeah, you do not. It's, oh my gosh, but like any school, but all schools, elementary, where you can't really necessarily see kids very well anyways.
I know. And they're just trying to run me over.
Oh, that's, yeah. Crosswalks are scary.
Who
In fact,
knew?
well, at a school.
I know. That's
I know crosswalks in general are scary.
Who knew that I would be in so much car danger at an elementary
I know, and
school?
your worst fear is literally getting in a car accident.
It really
and
is.
It's just like, everything is trying to like, you're really close.
I know. That also reminds me of the time when I was going to the bank, and I was going through an intersection, and my light had turned green, and so it was red, and I was still a little bit of ways, you know?
Yeah.
And then I'm coming up to it, it turns green, and I'm still going, and I'm about to go through it, and I'm going through it, and this person runs the red light of their side, trying to turn left, and they almost slammed into me. We were like an inch away
Oh my gosh. That's awful. That was recently, wasn't it?
Yes.
Honestly, the more I'm thinking about it, I don't even know if there's been one time we've driven where something bad hasn't happened.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Because we seem to get really unlucky. And like I said, it's not us.
It really's not.
It's not like one of us is driving like a maniac and we're just like, oh my gosh, they pulled in front of me and there's nothing. That happens to me all the time, every day near my house. Somebody pulls in front of me when I'm going 55 and
you have to slam
on my brakes.
Like, they can't speed up that fast.
Oh, they for sure can't. Especially some people go in like a shockingly late. Like, that's how you actually for sure get in a car accident. And now I have a dash camera, fortunately. I am so
really
glad
nice.
I have one because, if something happens, I can say, hey,
that was not me.
That was not me.
And you can be confident in it because it's never us.
Mm-hmm. And the insurance has 100% proof.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, I definitely agree. I'm glad I have a dash cam now. But yeah, the amount of bad driving experiences we've had.
It's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.
Absolutely.
It probably is where we live and they're just horrible drivers.
They're true, but I think everywhere has horrible drivers because I've been in a lot of states.
That's true.
Everywhere is bad. Everywhere.
Just like be normal, people.
I know. Just please try to drive, okay? It doesn't take that much effort. You only have to learn once.
Don't be the problem.
Oh my gosh. We haven't even talked about this yet, but we've got to. One of my biggest pet peeves is people not using their blinker.
Oh my gosh.
What is up with that?
Reason.
I do not understand why people do not use their blinker because all it takes is a quick tap and everyone knows where you're going. And I know you don't ever 100% trust the blinker, but it gives me a much better understanding of what you're doing, especially when it's last second when you're like, I gotta turn here, and you just turn, and I'm just barely at the minimum following distance between us, and I have to slam on my brakes.
Yeah, and the most annoying thing is when you're following somebody somewhere, and they know that you're following them, and they don't use their blinker ever.
And they go so fast.
Yeah, they're going so fast you can barely follow them. And they're turning on all these random streets
that you've never been on in your life. No blinkers. No warning. They don't
nothing.
even. You ask where you're going, and they're like, "Well, I'll just tell you. Like, just follow me." And so you're like, "Okay." And they zoom off a million miles an hour. Do not use their blinkers. It's a stoplight, and the light's turning yellow. And you know when that happens, you should stop. Because you know the person behind you.
Yes.
It's not like they just go through. And you're like, I have to stop.
I have to guess where you're going.
I'll just assume your gray car will follow you. It's not like you have a yellow car and you can just easily see where they're going.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, yeah, every time. I am not following people ever again unless they tell me, where are we going? I'm going to enter it into my navigation. I'm going to put in my phone. I'm going to take me there. Oh my gosh. That is for sure one of my biggest pet peeves.
Yeah.
I mean, I use my blinker when nobody's behind me.
Me too. And especially when they're driving crazy and they're not using their blinker.
On the freeway?
I know.
You're going 75 and you really think it's not a good idea to use your blinker?
No, they're going like 85.
For sure. People here go way too fast. You're like going the speed limit and people look at you like you're insane.
I know.
You'll literally be going 2 over to try to not die. Because there's been situations where I've had to go like 2 or 3 over to not get run over because everyone's going 5, 10 over.
And it's crazy.
And you're like, oh my gosh, I'm in the slow lane and everyone's trying to kill me.
Yeah, it's scary.
People are merging into you. Oh my gosh. Swing back to that story.
Oh
gosh.
My gosh.
Yeah, I love driving. I hate other people driving.
For real. Other people make it dangerous.
Oh my gosh, and then you have, oh my god. Okay.
This episode was a bit chaotic, as most of our episodes will be.
We hope you've enjoyed all of our bad experiences driving, and we're sure there's more to come.
If you have any stories you'd like to share with us, or any suggestions, our email is in our bio.
We hope you've enjoyed. You'll hear from us again soon.
Bye!
See ya! Or not really, because you won't be seeing our faces.